Hi there, friends. Welcome back to BibleBox. I'm Miss Alexis. Today, we're going to be talking about parables. Now, what is a parable, you might ask? A parable is a story told with different characters, often set in different times or places, that teach us an important moral lesson. Jesus used parables all the time in his ministry as a way to show his followers and the people he was preaching to what they should do and how they should act. For today's reading, we're going to be using the Growing in God's Love Story Bible. If you'd like your own copy of the Bible to follow along, just click the link in the description box below. Let's get started. The Good Neighbor, based on Luke 10, chapters 25 through 37. Do you know your neighbors? They can be people next door, down the street, or across town. Jesus told a story about what it means to be a good neighbor, even to people you don't know. In the time of Jesus, the Samaritans and the Jews did not like each other at all. Jesus was a Jew, and one day he told this story about a Samaritan and what happened to him. Wherever Jesus went, people came to listen to his teaching and to ask questions. One day, a lawyer came to Jesus with an important question. "Teacher," he said, "the law says that we must love our neighbor the way we love ourselves." "That's right," Jesus replied. "Who is my neighbor?" asked the religious teacher. Jesus answered the question with a story. One day, a traveler was walking down the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Suddenly, robbers attacked him and stole all his money. They ran away, leaving him lying in a heap on the side of the road. He was badly hurt and needed help. After a while, he heard someone coming. It was a priest. "Thank goodness," the traveler thought, "I'm saved." But the priest was afraid that the robbers would hurt him too. He crossed to the other side of the road, looked the other way, and kept on going. Later, the injured man heard someone else coming. This time, it was a Levite, also a religious leader. Finally, he thought, surely this one will stop and help. But the Levite was also afraid of robbers. He crossed to the other side of the road, looked the other way, and hurried by. A third time, the injured man heard someone coming. This time, it was someone coming from Samaria on the way to Jerusalem. "Oh no," the traveler thought, "it's someone from Samaria. He will never help me." But the Samaritan man did stop. He bandaged the hurt man and lifted him onto his donkey. He took him to an inn. He gave the innkeeper money to look after the traveler until he was well. Jesus asked, who was a neighbor to the traveler attacked by the robbers? "The one who was kind to him, the one who stayed with him and helped him," the lawyer replied. "Go and be that kind of neighbor," Jesus said. It's wonderful that Jesus told stories that show us how we should behave as Christians. The story of the Good Samaritan is particularly helpful because being a good neighbor is one of the main things that we need to do as Christians. Let's head on over to the craft table and explore a little bit more about the Good Samaritan story. Come on, friends, follow me. Welcome back to the craft table, friends. Before we get started, as always, make sure your work surface has something protective on it and that you're wearing protective gear too, like me in this apron. You could also wear clothes that you won't mind if it gets a little dirty. Today, we're going to be doing a craft that requires parent supervision, so make sure you've got a parent handy and ready to go for this project. Let's get crafting. Welcome to the craft for March 7th. Inside your envelope, you'll find the following supplies. A bag with some game pieces and one die. A few sheets of lamination paper, a game board ready to color in, one piece of cardboard, and this Save for Later card. You should also have the markers that we saved from a previous craft and the glue stick that we saved from a previous craft. Now remember, friends, when you save that Save for Later card, make sure you move these materials into the folders for these dates so we can use them for another craft later. You can also supplement the markers with your own markers. I'm going to use a big set that I got as a Christmas present. Today, we're going to be making our very own board game based on the story of the Good Samaritan. Let's start by coloring in our board game. We can talk about the story as we do that. Go ahead and color in the picture however you would like it to look. This is completely up to you, so feel free to use your artistic liberty. Take your time going around these little tiny edges. It's okay to go slow. I like to outline the section I'm going to color in first. That helps me stay inside the lines. How's your picture looking? What colors did you decide to use? I enjoy coloring so much. I find it to be a very calming activity. Do you like coloring too? Do you happen to have any coloring books that you enjoy doing at home? I like it because I can make the world look however I want it to look and use my imagination to really make the pictures come to life. For these little tiny areas, use a very gentle stroke and try and use just the tip of your marker. think that looks good. There are many ways that we can be Good Samaritans every day in our daily lives, and there are some people who make their entire jobs acting as Good Samaritans and helping people. Can you name some of the professional jobs that help people? How about firemen? Or nurses and doctors? There's also social workers and people who go overseas to help and volunteer for people. You might be able to even do some volunteering yourself. Think about becoming part of your church's mission program, for instance. That would be a great way to help other people in need. Thank goodness there are people in the world today who are like the Good Samaritan, who overcome the differences and work together to make everybody feel better. There are also little things we can do to be Good Samaritans in the lives of our neighbors, our family, our friends. What are ways that you can help in your very own home to be a Good Samaritan and a good family member? Was there ever a time that you acted like a Good Samaritan to somebody else? Maybe there was a time where you were the man on the road and someone else was being mean to you. Who was the Good Samaritan in your life who took care of you during that time? In the Middle East today, there are still dirt roads that will lead you to Jerusalem that you can walk on. Many of the roads have been paved for regular car traffic, but they still go through vast areas of desert where there's no water and no food to be found. Can you imagine what it would have been like to travel along a road like that, dusty and dry with only the sun overhead? It would have been a difficult journey, to be sure. What do you think would have happened if all of a sudden you didn't have any way to get where you were going? How long could you survive out there? It must have been absolutely horrible for the poor man to get all of his clothing taken away from him, all of his money taken away from him, and get treated so roughly by the robbers. Was there ever a time in your life where you felt like you were taken advantage of by someone? Maybe somebody took a toy of yours without asking first. Maybe somebody accidentally hurt you. Have you ever had a time where that happened to somebody that you care about? How did that make you feel? Did you try to help that person? In this story, the person was hurt physically by the people, and the Good Samaritan was helpful in healing the physical wounds. But sometimes people are hurt in ways that don't really show up as a physical hurt. Sometimes people can get hurt emotionally or spiritually. How can you help be a Good Samaritan to somebody who has a hurt that goes into their heart? Sometimes it's enough just to be there for a person. You don't have to do anything specific. As long as you're there for them and you tell them that you care, that could be being a Good Samaritan too. This little donkey is so cute. You know, many cultures still use donkeys and horses as ways to get from one place to another. Sometimes donkeys are used to be ridden. Other times donkeys are used to pull carts or carry heavy loads. My donkey's gonna have little pink insides of his ears. Have you ever gone to a petting zoo or maybe to a farm and seen a donkey up close? In the story, the priest and the Levi walked past the person and didn't help them at all, but those were the religious leaders of the day. It's interesting that they chose not to help. In our lives, we may have people that we see in positions of power or leadership that are not always doing the right thing. It's important that we know that just because they're in a position of power doesn't mean that they're always correct. We should always think about what God would want us to do. How should we behave based on what we know about God and what He wants us to do as humans and take care of each other? The Levi and the priest passed the man by, not only because they thought they might get mugged too, but also because they thought he might make them unclean, or that it would make them late to where they were going. They put their own needs and their own desires above the man who was hurt and needed help. Jesus made a point to note that our own desires and our own needs should never take the place of a person who desperately needs our help. Remember, you don't have to color everything in. You can leave some areas white if you want. Back in Jesus' time, The Jews and the Samaritans didn't like each other. They considered each other to be enemies and didn't want to have anything to do with each other. Can you think of anything in your life or in the world today where there's a similar situation? How can we come together and overcome the hatred? Just because the Samaritan was from a different culture than the man who was traveling to Jerusalem didn't mean that the Samaritan felt differently about helping him. We can help other people even if they're a different culture than ours. Being each other's neighbor doesn't mean that we have to share the same beliefs or values as someone else. It just means that we recognize being human and being children of God transcends our differences. My pictures are looking great. How are your pictures looking? One of the things that is really amazing about this story of the Good Samaritan is that the Samaritan didn't stop helping the man by just healing his wounds. He took him all the way to Jerusalem, and then when the man still had other things he needed to attend to, he made sure to check back in on the poor man who was healing, paid for all of his debts. That's continuous care. It's good and helpful for us to remember that our neighbors don't just need one-time care and then we forget about them. We should always remember that our neighbors are there and that they may need our help or just need our company. Maybe someday you'll be the one in trouble and you'll need a good neighbor to come and take care of you. How amazing do you think the world would be if everyone behaved like every other person was their neighbor? I really like how my game board is turning out. There are a couple of extra things that I'd like to do to this game board before I'm ready to put it all together. You may be working faster or slower than I'm working, and that's just fine. To save a little bit of time, I'm going to do the rest of my work off camera. If you're still working, pause the video now and come back after you're finished coloring in your game board. If you've already finished, that's great too. Keep watching and let's put this thing together. I finished with my game board and now I'm happy with my design. It's time to put it all together. Take your piece of cardboard and your stick of glue. On the back of your game board, use your glue stick to go all the way around the edges and through the middle. Remember, if you hear a scraping sound, it's time to turn up the glue stick so you can reveal more glue and keep working. Once you have enough glue on the back of your page, press down onto the cardboard, matching up the corners and the edges. Rub back and forth against the page to help the glue adhere to the backing. Now, to protect our game board and make sure nothing happens to our beautiful pictures, we're going to use these self-laminating sheets. See where it says peel here? That's where you're going to start. Peel back on the self-laminating sheet. Now this is very sticky material, so make sure that you place it down exactly where you want it to go. You won't be able to reposition it after you've placed it down. I'm going to do 2 sheets, one on this side and then one on that side, and overlap them slightly. I'm also going to wrap around the back and the side edges. That's going to help ensure that I get nice coverage on my whole picture. Laying down your sheet, fold it just slightly so the middle touches down first. Then lay the page out very slowly so you get nice even coverage with no bubbles. Rub your finger back and forth across the page, moving from the inside out to make sure that we've got good adhesion and no air bubbles. It should look like that at this point. Now when you go to fold this, I'm going to do my outside corners first and then this edge. Fold down, pressing up against this edge nice and firmly so you get a clean edge, and roll the paper around the back. You're going to have some extra here, and that's okay. We'll use regular old tape to fix that at the end. Roll around that corner so there's no air bubbles. And press down on the back. It's okay if there's a couple of bubbles on the back. Now do the same thing on this side. Press up and roll down. No worries about the air bubbles on the back. It's the front that we want to make sure to lay perfectly flat. Alright, you can see how the light shines off of the side that we've got laminated. Now let's do the other side so our picture is nice and protected. Just like before, peel back on the backing. Bend the paper a little bit so that the middle kind of lowers itself down first. Overlap slightly with where your first piece of laminate paper was. And then press down, pushing out from the center to make sure there's no air bubbles. Fold over on the one side and press. Fold over on the other side and press. And finish it off with the back. There you go. Your game board is now ready to play. Grab a sibling or a parent and let's play together. Have everybody start in the same spot. Roll the die to determine how many spaces you move. Then move that space. It's the next person's turn. 1, 2. I landed on roll again, so I get to go a second time. 1, 2, 3. Play your way all the way around the game board and follow the instructions as you get to each individual step. You can play this game either competitively or cooperatively. It's totally up to you. If you're playing cooperatively, once you get to the finish line, help other players finish by rolling again and choosing another player to take an extra turn. We hope you enjoyed today's craft, friends, and enjoyed talking about the story of the Good Samaritan. Hopefully you all can be Good Samaritans in your lives too. Until next time, bye! Really nice job on your craft today, friends. You know, parables are such a great way that we can share what it means to be a good person with other people without necessarily making them feel like we're telling them how to personally behave. Our friends at Faithlife Media have actually put together their own little miniature parable about being a good neighbor. Let's head on over there and watch the video and then sing a little bit of a song with them.
Hey, Gabby, who's that?
I don't know, Dash. Who are you?
Hi, my name's Terry. I'm your new neighbor.
You can't be our neighbor. You aren't even a guinea pig.
Yeah, just look at those big floppy ears. You're no neighbor of ours.
Well, I don't have anywhere else to go.
Maybe Norbert can get to the bottom of this. Norbert!
Howdy, pals.
Norbert, who is this guy?
That's Terry. He needs a place to stay, so he's going to crash in our pen for a while. You know, a neighbor.
But how can a bunny be a neighbor to pigs?
Well, let me tell you. Who is my neighbor?
Who is my neighbor?
Who is my neighbor?
Who is my neighbor?
My neighbor is anyone in need, not just the people who look like me. My neighbor is anyone in need, like Jesus who showed love to me. I will help those in need. see, pals, a neighbor can be anyone who needs your help, no matter what they look like.
I get it. Well, welcome to the pen then, Terry.
Can I offer you a carrot?
Absolutely.
Thanks again for joining us today for BibleBox, friends. Before we leave, let's close with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, sometimes in our lives it's hard to see past the barriers that we put up between ourselves and our neighbors. Sometimes we don't want to interact with them because they look different or they have different cultures than ours. But remind us that being a good neighbor is like being the Good Samaritan, helping others whenever they are in need, no matter what the differences are between us. Amen. All right, friends, we'll catch you next week for another episode of BibleBox. Until then, stay safe and go with God. Bye!